Welcome to ADU Point, a video series dedicated to accessory dwelling units. Hi, my name is Will Johnson. I'm a renovation loan consultant and ADU advisor. We're excited about accessory dwelling units. The new ordinances in 2020 has really removed a lot of major barriers. Combine that with financing, this will really empower homeowners to develop affordable housing for loved ones or create an attractive income stream. That's the good news, but there is a tale of caution. This is a complex, dynamic, evolving process. Selection of resources are critical. We've learned a lot with every ADU that we've built. So we'll interview key experts and ask probing questions around ADUs. We'll talk to architects, contractors, builders, interior designers. We'll also talk to financial specialists to understand the best financing that meets your needs. We're committed to advancing your ideas into action. So connect with us and get all of your questions answered. So let's get started. Hi, thanks for joining us. My name's Will Johnson. Welcome to ADU Point. I'm a renovation loan consultant and ADU advisor, and this video series is dedicated to bringing on local experts to talk about issues associated with accessory dwelling units. I can tell you from a financing perspective, one of the things that we're faced with is really how to value accessory dwelling units. Particularly, there's some financing loans that really depend on the future value of accessory dwelling units. So today we've brought on a local appraiser, Sydney Loiseau, that's from South Shore Appraisals, and we're really delighted to have him on. We've been talking offline. He really has a lot of great experience with accessory dwelling units. So Sydney, welcome.
Will, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. So Sydney has some PowerPoint presentations that he wanted to share with us. Walk us through a couple of examples on how you approach valuing accessory dwelling units and appraisals in general.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again. I've been dealing with ADUs, guys, for the past 3 years, although it may seem very brand new to maybe many of you or some of you. So I want to get into right away, there's 2 different ways on how to value ADUs. And so the first way, if we can go to that slide, would be what we call the sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach you guys are very familiar with. It's how you compare one single family home to another single family home. You have a single family home that's 2,000 square feet. You're going to find other single family homes between 1,800 square feet and 2,200 square feet. Try to make it the same bedroom bath counts, the same you would for a condo and all those different things. An ADU is the same way. We want to see, are there other ADUs in the market area that we can compare our house to? We'll get a little bit into, if there's nothing in your market area, how you can still find ADUs. Just like anything else, let's say you have that property that has a tennis court, a swimming pool, is on the canyon rim and has a view of the ocean. There's only a few properties in your city that are like that. You can go to other neighboring cities or competing markets to find that same specific property. So the same with an ADU. If you're in a university city area where there's very little ADUs that have sold, you may need to go to Tierra Santa, you may need to go to Pacific Beach, you may need to go to all the neighboring markets around it to find something like it. So sales comparison approach, think apples to apples. Is there something else like it next to me?
Okay.
The second way, go ahead, Will. The second way and more robust way is the income approach. Try not to overthink it. An ADU is somewhat like a duplex. Matter of fact, it's a lot like a duplex. It's 2 units on 1 property. So when we're looking at an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, it's the benefit of that is you can bring income into your property. So you can rent the accessory dwelling unit, you can live in an accessory dwelling unit and rent out the main home. So the way that we find the income side of that, which will attract an investor, which is how you get approved possibly through a loan by both approaches, is the income approach. So we take a standard accessory dwelling unit. Let's say the main home is usually going to be larger always than the accessory dwelling unit. You have that at 1,500 square feet is your main home. The accessory dwelling unit is 700 square feet. I would look at models of duplexes in the market area that are 1,500 square feet main home, 700 square feet attached or detached secondary home, and what are the rents for those properties. To figure out a GRM, which you see at the bottom of the screen there, is simple. You take the monthly rent, $2,500 a month, you divide that by the sales price, $600,000, and that's going to give you a GRM. Okay.
So is that actual rent, or is that a calculation that you do?
It's going to be market rent, because you could be renting. That's a good question. You could be renting that property to one of your children. You can be renting it to a friend and saying, "Hey, I'll rent this property to you for $1,000." That's actual rent, but the market says you can get $2,000 for that property. And when you're trying to get approved for a loan as well, they're going to go off the market rent. They want to know, are you maximizing your rent or getting a surplus, or is it under market?
So you have a tool or resource that you're relying on for market rent.
Correct. There's a few sources that I have. One that most people may be familiar with, that's called the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service. And that's what most realtors use when they list a property. So there's also the rents of a property in that. And if you have a relationship with a good management company, they can also provide you with awesome rents. And the reason I bring the management company up, it's a good segue, Will, is in the college area, which I've appraised homes in a college area, 3 in the last week and a half, actually 2 weeks in the college area. And the amount that, the way they do rents in the college area is they rent $1,000 per room. So if your accessory dwelling unit is gonna have 2 rooms, that's gonna bring you $2,000 minimum. It depends, and the closer you get to the school, that can go up to $1,200 per room. So when you're thinking about these things, it's structured a little bit different in the college area because you have students that go to SDSU or other various colleges. And then of course, like the Pacific Beach area where it's more vacation rental driven, but you're closer to the ocean and it's a different style of rent, how they maximize that dollar per room as well.
So when you have 2 different approaches, the sales comparables versus income, is that really the appraiser's role to determine which one is the appropriate role to take in determining value?
Absolutely. When I'm doing a single family home, the majority of the weight is given to the sales comparison approach. Anytime there's income that's involved, the income approach is going to be heavily weighted on. Lenders want both ways always, and we always do any sort of income approach will show the difference between the sales comparison approach and the income approach. Because we live in this beautiful city of San Diego and rents are always through the roof, what you're going to find is if I appraise a home that's getting income, let's say an accessory dwelling unit, the sales comparison approach value may be $800,000, but the income approach value may be $845 or $830 because the income is a lot higher that you're receiving than what someone may entice an investor or a buyer to purchase that home for.
Okay, so I think some of the case studies, it looks like you use the income approach on them. Can we look at those slides?
Correct. Let's go back. So this one is in Santee for all those who may invest in the East County. If you look at the main home rent is $2,650 in Santee, and the granny flat was rented at $1,700. And this was a situation where the realtor didn't know how to price the property. They didn't know where to come in at. If you look at appraised value represents the sales comparison approach. So the appraised value was $746,000 for the sales comparison approach, but the income approach value is at $760,000. So the income brought you a lot more value than the sales comparison approach. So the total rents were $44,350. That GRM was what I was telling you about. The rent, the monthly rent divided into the sales price gives you the 175 of GRM. And of
Gotcha.
course, you see at the bottom line the loss of value of nearly 300,000 without an ADU in this specific market. And if we go to the Cardiff by the Sea, for anyone who works North County coastal, in this next slide, you'll see the numbers are drastically different, but you're in a coastal neighborhood. The main home here rented for $6,500, and the granny flat was $2,500 on the rent. The appraised value, again on the SCA stands for Sales Comparison Approach, was $2 million. And then the income approach was almost $250,000 more than the sales comparison side.
So if you're a lender, what number are you going with?
If you're a lender, you're going to go with both numbers, right? Because lenders are very conservative. So they want to make sure, even on the sales comparison side, let's say if this property never received the rents of the market rents, let's say in this COVID-19 era, that you're receiving less rents, they still want to make sure that the home could sell for what the value is at the sales comparison approach side. So they're going to take both. They're going to say, well, what's our risk? That's the $2 million property in Cardiff. But what's the gain? What can we gain if, let's say, this person decided, I'm not going to make a payment anymore and reneged on their loan? They know that they can put this on the market and they can still achieve a value of $2.25 million. So they'll utilize both numbers, and that's how they'll prove a buyer on that property based on their finances, saying, okay, whether you're going to build one or purchase one that's already there, I would deliver this number or the same example you see here if it hasn't been built as well. I could say right now this home is worth this amount. If you build an ADU, this is how much money the property will go up in value. Sure. So going back to the property I did in College area, it was a 1,100 square foot home. In that same area, in College area, that 1,100 square foot home would sell between $520,000 to $570,000. They added a detached ADU which was 1,000 square feet. Now their value that I came in at was at $930,000. So you can see the gain in value for 1,000 square feet, even if construction is $250 a square foot. You still can see an increase in value from that.
Okay, good. All right. Is there anything else you want us to know about what you do with accessory dwelling units? This has been great information.
No, I want you to call me. No, guys, we want to make this very short so you guys get the information. But if you want to get detailed about your specific neighborhood, if you live in Lakeside or you live in Chula Vista or any of these different markets, definitely give me a call, because every single market is different. It's all about the rents. It's all about what's available to compare it to. I mean, once we have that information, then we can structure that for you.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks. That's really great information. I actually did have, I guess, another sort of scenario I've been thinking through is, are you treating junior ADUs that are, attached to the property? Is there any different evaluation or different approach or considerations in appraising those types of considerations?
Absolutely. The thing is, the market dictates the value. The market is the buyer, right? So an attached ADU has maybe a separate, has a little bit less of an appeal because there's an attached adjoining wall. So that a detached ADU may have its own yard space. So it adds to the appeal of, although I'm on a property with someone else, I have my own space. So the same way that we go back to sales comparison approach, apples to apples, if I have an attached ADU, I want to look for attached ADUs as what I'm comparing for. And if there's very limited data on attached ADUs, then I'm going to see, okay, what do I have available for attached ADUs, and compare that to a detached ADU. And if there's a dollar amount difference between the two, then I would say, hey, there's a $100,000 decline in value or decrease in value for an attached ADU versus a detached ADU. I'm not saying that's the number, but that's what we've come to grips with in the report, saying, hey, just like an attached duplex or a detached duplex, there's a difference in the market appeal. And there could be some benefits, because when you repair one roof, you're doing it for two doors and not just one. So there's different things we'd have to structure and really analyze the data to see what's the difference between attached ADU or a detached ADU. Good question.
So I guess I was sort of thinking through a scenario where, from looking at it from a functional standpoint, we're at least adding another bedroom to the property. And
Yes.
so if we have a 3-2 and now this functionally can be a 4-2, I'm always interested in obviously getting best value for the property for my customers.
Yeah.
And these attached ADUs seem to have some interest in the marketplace out there. I mean, could you value the property as a 4-bedroom, 2-bath as part of the appraisal process, or is that allowable?
Well, what we would do on the sales comparison grid, there's many lines. There's a line for location, for gross living area, for all sorts of amenities that we could add. So this would be what we call a separate line item that I would go across the board. So attached ADU, a junior ADU, I'm assuming it's going to have a bedroom, it's going to have a bathroom, it should have its own space, and maybe some sort of kitchenette. And if that's the case, then it would be a separate line item, just like an accessory dwelling unit would be a separate line item. And how I make that adjustment is based on what's available in the market.
Okay.
I think the incorrect way that I think some appraisers are evaluating ADUs, they're saying that the main home has a 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, then the ADU has a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and they're saying, oh, it's a 4 bedroom, 3 bath home. But now the
Right.
4 bedroom, 3 bath home has 2 kitchens. How do you value the second kitchen without properly I mean, there's some markets that do have 2 kitchens, and it's more, we can get into that. It's a whole other conversation, but you have to be able to value the space for what it is. And the best way to do that is to use a duplex model. I understand there's junior ADUs where it could just be a bedroom and a bathroom with some sort of cooktop that keeps it separate, but still a part of the house. We still have to utilize that and look at cost and break down cost in a cost approach.
One of the options with the junior ADU is you can actually, you actually have to have an inner door to the rest of the primary dwelling. So then in that case, you don't actually have to have a bathroom as a requirement. You're sharing it. It's more like an in-law, granny flat, so to speak, out there. You have to have a kitchenette, but otherwise it's, it's a bedroom, kitchenette as sort of a minimum. It's optional whether you want to have a separate bathroom or not. So, well, this is just sort of a good illustration as, experience really means a lot in this kind of environment. And so I think this has really been informative. Thank you so much for your participation. How do we stay in contact with you?
My contact is here on the screen, guys. I'm on social media, all the platforms. I do YouTube channels. So if you want to find me, definitely reach out to Will, reach out to myself directly. I'm on the Facebook, on the Instagram, you name it. LinkedIn. So you can find me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you are, and thanks again for your participation. If we could go back one slide, I just wanted to show that we actually have an ADU group on Facebook that's become very, very popular. We're going to have people like Sydney available to us. So this is a great resource for a lot of homeowners and other professionals to come in there and collaborate. Share your projects on there. It's a great way to network. And then I also have a website, SD203K, where I'm actually keeping a lot of information about ADUs. A lot of financing information is available there. I have copies of all the pre-designed plans. So it's just another valuable resource out there. So again, Sydney, thanks for your participation. Look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
Peace out.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate it.